Good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be back here at Norwalk Community College. I started my educational career way too many years ago here, way before this beautiful establishment was built. And so I think all the students that are here today are very fortunate. Those that have come through and those that are here now are very, very fortunate to have this beautiful facility here to provide a quality education and provide a path to higher education to establish careers for their future. Unfortunately, this budget that's now has passed the two chambers, this Republican budget, puts that at risk. It puts all those careers, those educational careers at risk because it decimates our educational funding to our higher education. $300 million in cuts to UConn, over $93 million in cuts to our state schools as well as the technical schools, including this one. Those are dollars that can be invested in the future of our children, in the future of the workforce of the state of Connecticut. It's that brain drain that we have been trying to fight for so many years to keep our college-educated students here in Connecticut, and yet this budget will decimate that and reverse that course. So in essence, when you're graduating and looking for a job, if you can graduate here, you might not be looking in the state of Connecticut. And what we've been trying to do is to make sure that we invest in our higher education so that you don't make that decision that you want to stay here in Connecticut. But the cuts to education are just a small piece. There are cuts in our Connecticut Green Energy Fund. That's also emerging market technologies that invest in the future of our planet with sustainable energy programs. This budget cuts that. It eliminates those dollars. So therefore, we're going back to what was the old status quo, creating the harm that's been done to our economy as well as to our planet. I don't believe that's the right course. The budget also takes away dollars to those that can least afford it. It eliminates and cuts the earned income tax credit for the poor that, in essence, this is a raising of taxes on that population. We don't want to do that. We don't think that's right to put taxes on those that can least afford it. And on speaking of taxes, on terms of the budget, we've heard for months that this was a balanced budget with no taxes, right? It sounds great, no new taxes. Yet they raise over $1 billion in revenues, so their revenues are not taxes, our revenues are. I don't think that is fair. I don't see how they can use the same funding streams that we had in our budget, they included in their budget, and yet they're not taxes. And I think now that their budget is out, allowing the public a chance to scrutinize it, they're coming under a little bit of pressure to see through what exactly is there and what is not. Our budget has been out for many months. It's received a lot of criticism. We didn't have their budget until the evening of the vote in the Senate chamber. It wasn't even ready to be in the possession of the Senate chamber so that it could be debated. The courtesy of the leadership allowed that to continue so that by the time it was printed, we could have a final vote. So no one, including those who voted for it, actually had the physical document on their desk. That's the first time in my experience, in my many years in the legislature, that has ever happened. But nonetheless, it has passed, and now we have a budget that is out there for all to see, for all to look through, and for everyone to really take a look at it and see if you agree with it or not. Based on that, we now have to get back to the table. We now have to get back to finding where we have common ground so that we can achieve what's right for the state of Connecticut. And yes, there will be some tough decisions, but hopefully there will be tough decisions that we can both agree on, not just one-sided or one point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo. And before we bring up Representative Morrison and Mayor Rilling, I found it kind of interesting for those of us who are standing here, whether you're a graduate of NCC or took a class from NCC, if you have taken a class or graduated from NCC, raise your hand. So it's produced a lot of us who are here have taken that. And if you've taken a class from the University of Connecticut, raise your hand. There you go. So we've got that as well. So thank you. And I think that speaks volumes as well. Next, we want to hear from our Deputy Speaker of the House, Representative Bruce Morse.
Thank you, Senator Duff. Thank you to everyone that is here, in particular to the students that are here, because they're the future, and that's what our concern is about this budget. Certainly, we've had a difficult time putting budgets together since 2008. But every budget that we've always thought about and doing has always been with the future in mind. What we need to do to make certain that we have a sustainable Connecticut. And quite frankly, this one does a reverse on that. Anytime you have a budget that, quite frankly, takes a look at your higher education and ensures that, as you heard from Eloise and others, that kids who don't have a lot of money are now going to have a limited, if any, chance of attending a high school, a college. So we're basically saying that, you know what, kids that are poor, you go to 12th grade and that's the best you can do. That's the best the state of Connecticut can do for you when we make our choices and our decisions about what's important in a budget. A budget is about your values, your values. One of the greatest values and assets that the state of Connecticut has is its intellectual capability and capacity. Businesses come here or they will leave here because we have colleges that will turn out kids that can be the workforce of the future. We've invested heavily in biotech industry and other things. We're making certain that we have a school to career path, and quite frankly, I'm very proud of Norwalk Community College. I call it the gem of all of our community colleges in the state, and they've done a wonderful job here. And you take a look at these kids. So this is the wrong budget, certainly at the wrong time. And there are other holes that, as Senator Leone and Senator Duff has pointed out, but this is a major one. Think about it this way. There's a lot of things that we're trying to protect, and your social services, your safety net is one of them. Quite frankly, Republicans as well say that they're interested in protecting our social services safety net. Well, guess what? If kids can only go to 12th grade and can only get a job that's good enough to give them at McDonald's, the likelihood is they in the future will be a part of our social services safety net. So this is a disinvestment in something that is important for Connecticut. I'm proud of our system, and I'm with Senator Leone and Senator Duff. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to come back to the table and put the real priorities out there, the real values that make certain that we are a self-sustainable state of Connecticut in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Next, we're going to hear from Mayor Harry Rilling.
Thank you, Senator Duff. Pretty much everything that can be said has been said. I, too, started my college education here at Norwalk Community College. Also, I served as an adjunct professor here and found the students to be remarkably engaged. And there are so many young people that actually rely on this stepping stone into a higher education for a graduate degree to get to where they want to be. We have to prepare our young people for the global economy, for the future. And if we take people and say, you're not going to be able to afford a college degree, we are leaving them behind. And it is not our job to leave the next generation behind. I have a question. How many of you in here had a hard time finding a parking place today? Come on, you all did. I certainly did. All right, I've got a little formula. Fewer dollars to our educational system, including Norwalk Community College, means fewer professors, which means fewer curriculum choices, which means fewer students, which means fewer cars in that parking lot. So we need to get behind our educational institutions and tell them, we are not going to cut your budgets. We are going to make that investment in our future, in our children, that we know we so dearly need. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, thank you, everybody. And again, just kind of to recap here, we know that our state college system is the feeder for our economy. We have 95% of our state university students are from Connecticut. They stay here after they graduate. And we know very well that major employers, especially in this area, find their staff, find their workforce from places like Norwalk Community College, Western Connecticut State University, Southern, Eastern, and Central. And so they also are the ones who are meeting the high demands fields of manufacturing, healthcare, information technology. And we feel that the Republican budget that passed would result in a state that is less prepared to meet the workforce needs of tomorrow. And worse yet, as was mentioned before, the elimination of the Roberta Willis Scholarship Fund, which would kick off 15,000 of our state's students and increase their tuition by the fact of them not being able to receive those scholarships any longer. I've actually met many people over the last few days and over the years that have come to rely on that scholarship so that they don't have additional debt and they're able to afford our schools. So we want to make sure that we support higher education. We know one of the ways in which we grow our economy and how we continue to move Connecticut forward is to invest in higher education and secondary education. And so again, I call on my colleagues to come together, roll up our sleeves, work on a bipartisan budget that protects higher education, that doesn't cut $300 million from UConn, that doesn't cut $90 million from our state university system, doesn't eliminate the Roberta Willis Scholarship Fund, and that protects education throughout the state of Connecticut. Thank you very much.